See, look, all my books are falling down because it's creepy, because this is horror and there's supernatural stuff going on. What's happening, people? I'm Gina Yashere, stand-up comic, writer, exec producer, co-creator and actor on Hearts Abishola on CBS, and now author. Right there. So I'm about to give Marie Claire and you guys a peek into my personal library. So, welcome to Shelf Portrait. I've been reading books since I was a young child. My mother, as a Nigerian, super overprotective, wouldn't let us play out in the streets in case we got run over and killed. So books were my solace. I read a lot as a child. As a kid, I started off with fairy tales. Those are my favorite genre. Fairy tales, then I moved to ghost stories, and then I moved to horror. And to this day, horror is still probably my favorite genre, and my favorite writer has got to be Stephen King. There is no other. This book is my favorite book that I read as a child. Look how thick it is. Look at this book. See, look, all my books are falling down because it's creepy, because this is horror and there's supernatural stuff going on. I was about 14 when I read this book, maybe, and I knocked it out in 3 days. I just didn't eat, didn't sleep. I just sat there stewing in my own juices while I finished this book, and I loved it. It was a book about, you know, killer clowns, child-eating spiders, but also about children who were misfits who formed their own little gang and fought evil together. And so this is definitely one of my favorite books as a kid by Stephen King. I'm a big fan of black women writers. I like to support black women writers. One of my favorite authors, I got into science fiction. I'm not a big science fiction fan, but Octavia Butler, one of the best authors of any generation. And this is one of my favorite books of hers. In fact, this is my favorite book of hers, Kindred. It's kind of time travel. It's about a black woman in the 70s, because I think this book was written in sort of late 70s. I think it was based in 79. But a black woman living with her boyfriend who's white, and for some reason she gets dragged back into the past and finds herself back in slavery times. So she's a modern woman dragged back into the past and has to act a certain way so as not to be killed. And then one chapter, her boyfriend gets dragged back through with her, and he's white, so he has to pretend to be her owner. Crazy book, wonderful book, and I don't know why it's not a movie. Why is this not a movie? I would pay to see this movie. In fact, I don't know if anybody's bought the rights. If they haven't, I think I'm giving my idea away, but I would love to buy the rights to this and make this a movie, but I ain't got rights buying money yet. But anyway, Kindred, Octavia Butler. Speaking of black women writers, Nigerian authors, Second Class Citizen by Buchi and Emecheta. She was a Nigerian author. She died, God bless her soul, a few years ago. And we used to study her books in school. But what was the most fun part of this, I knew this woman. My mother and her were very good friends, and I used to go with my mum to Auntie, I used to call her Auntie Emecheta. I used to go to her house when I was a child and sit in a corner reading her books while she and my mum discussed life back in Nigeria, because they all came to England around the same time. And this book, Second Class Citizen, is a story of a woman coming from Nigeria to England and all the challenges she faced with racism and the struggles and trials and tribulations of raising her children in England. And that was basically my mother's story. So it's a beautiful book because it kind of tells mine and my mother's story, and it's a wonderful author, very well-known author. We read her books in school, and I knew her as well. So extra special, extra special. Another author I love, Chimamanda Ngozi Aditchie. And this is one of my favorite books of hers, if not my favorite. I mean, she's got some fantastic books. Half of the Yellow Sun, another wonderful book that was made into a movie that I didn't like so much. I'm sorry, am I allowed to say that? I didn't like the movie as much. The book was amazing. But anyway, Americana, one of my favorite books of hers. A lot of the stories in this book are very similar to chapters in my life. So I was reading the book and going, oh my gosh, it's like she's in my mind. It's like she's lived my life. A lot of the similar stories of journey and change and trying to find yourself and trying to fit into a society that doesn't necessarily want you. Americana, wonderful book. Chimamanda Ngozi Aditchie, wonderful writer. Go read her stuff. And I'm pretty sure she probably read a lot of Buchi and Emecheta stuff as well. Okay, so this book, I found this by accident. I was just looking for fun new books and it came up as a suggestion after I'd read one of Chimamanda Ngozi Aditchie's books. And this is called My Sister, the Serial Killer by Anuka Braithwaite. And oh my gosh, great writing, so funny as well. Actually, it was very, very humorous as well as being dark because it is about her sister who likes to kill her boyfriend. But I'm not going to tell you anymore. You have to read the book. But very funny book, really well written, really witty, really hilarious, really good fun. Black women writers, man, we're killing it. Another black woman writer, I don't know if you've heard of her, her name's Gina Yashere. Yeah, that's me. I've written a book, people. I'm an author. This is called Cack-Handed. This is my first book. I wrote it myself, all by myself. It's called Cack-Handed because I'm left-handed. And in England, left-handed, the term is cack-handed, which also means clumsy and awkward, because left-handed people are supposed to be clumsy and awkward. I don't believe that to be true. I just think that the whole world is made for right-handed people, so the few of us who are not right-handed, we're going to be perceived as clumsy and awkward, because the world is not made for us. So that's why I called this book Cack-Handed, because I'm left-handed, and also because my journey through life and through career has been awkward and clumsy and different and weird. And that's why it's a memoir covering my birth, my parents traveling from Nigeria to England, my birth in England, my life as an engineer, because I was an engineer before I did comedy, before I'm in entertainment, and my journey to get to America, which to me was like, yeah, it was the place that you had to be. After watching kids on TV solving crimes and riding around on cool bikes, I had to come to America. So this is my memoir that covers that story. So please buy it. It's available on all good platforms. Yeah. I love a good journey. I love a good story of coming up against the odds. And this book, Jennifer Lewis, mother of Black Hollywood. Beautiful. I love Jennifer Lewis. I'm a big fan. She's super talented, super funny. She's fantastic on Blackish on ABC, and she's been on fantastic in everything she's done. And this book is uproarious, hilariously funny, but also very touching, very, very fun book to read. Another Stephen King book that I read when I was a kid, Pet Sematary. Horror, dead animals coming back to haunt you and then burying your kids. This was the first book that let me know that children are not safe. Most movies I watched as a kid, kids always got out alive. The adults died, but the kids always got out alive. But Stephen King took that safety net away when a baby was buried and came back to haunt his parents. But great, great book. So that's my favorite genre, horror. My favorite place to read a book, there are many places. When I'm on vacation and I'm on a beach, because I'm not an active person when I go on vacation. I don't want to climb, I don't want to hike, I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit by the water, not go in the water because I don't even like swimming that much. I sit by the water and read a good book. That is my idea of a perfect reading location. On a beach or on a rooftop or by a pool, doing nothing, just reading and ordering cocktails. This is Dean Koontz. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Dean Koontz. Okay, when I was 12, I used to go to the library to get my books. I couldn't afford to buy all the fun books I wanted to buy. So I'd go to the library and just borrow them and read them. And I went through all of Stephen King's books at the time, and I was looking for a horror fix. I was desperate for a horror fix. And I was in the library asking the librarian, please, is there any new Stephen King books out? Is there anything I need to read? I need some more horror. And a strange looking man sort of sidled up beside me and he was like, I know what you'd like. If you like Stephen King, you would love Dean Koontz. And I never saw him again. I think he was a ghost. He might have been a ghost that haunted the library, just helping people out with book selections. But I took his advice and I started reading Dean Koontz, and he is my second best horror, supernatural type writer after Stephen King. And this was his first book that I read. I don't know if it's his first book, but it's definitely the first book of his that I read. It's called Lightning, and it's a book of time travel and fantastic dogs and love stories, and it's just brilliant. So, Dean Koontz, I've read all of his books too, but this is definitely one of my first book of his I read, and my favourite. Well, people, that's it. Thank you so much for watching Shelf Portrait. Hope you had as much fun as I did, and make sure you watch Bob Hearts Abishola, Monday night, CBS, 8:30 p.m, 7:30 Central. Don't forget to buy my book, Cack-Handed. I don't know why I'm whispering, but buy my book. Buy my book. I guarantee you'll love it. If you don't, I'll give you back the money, if you can find me. Now I'm going to go and have some private time by myself with my book. I love you, Cack-Handed. See ya. Oh yeah, and don't forget to subscribe to Marie Claire.